think it's an excellent observation of what you said, Ricky, because the struggle is just Christianity right across the board. Yeah. Every denomination has experienced the same thing. And it's the disconnect. It's not just the disconnect of society from the church, although people, kind of turn to the church in times of, it's almost like, the thought just came to my mind. When people go to prison, they pray a lot because they're in isolation.
Praying every day.
Or the whole world went into jail. And so everybody's like been praying a lot. Everyone's been praying a lot and reading a lot more. But I think that the main fallout has been to our generation of millennials and Gen Zs. They've just not come back to church now that church is opened again. And I think what COVID did, the blessing of COVID, if we are willing to, the blessing and the benefit of COVID for the church, if we are willing to do the work that opportunity allowed us, was to pause us. I always used to say when I used to do work with church leaders and local churches, especially around community engagement, I always used to say, if your church was to close today, would the community miss you?
Yes, sir.
And the answer to that question is no. Then it's because as far as the community is concerned, you don't exist.
You don't exist. Yep.
All you are the people that turn up once a week, come into the area, do your thing, and leave. Because really, we treat the community like a side piece.
Yep.
Because we don't live in the communities that we worship. We commute to the communities that we worship.
100%.
Yeah, so that community is like our side thing. We go check her at the weekend, check him at the weekend, but then we go back to where we're actually at. There's no real engagement with that community. And so I think what COVID did was pause everything that we do. Pause everything that we do, throw everything online. I know that, and I used to say jokingly, I mean, during COVID, I preached all over the world. Yeah. I mean, all over the world, through Zoom, all over the world. And, you'd be in a room and you would see certain behaviors. Like you'd be in a room on a COVID, in a COVID room, and a COVID room has 20 per page, and you'd be on the room number 1, 20 per page, and there'd only be 5. I remember one time I did a workers meeting. For a group of pastors. I think it was, no, I ain't gonna say what state, but it was in America. And do you know, of a page of 20, and then I skipped over, and then there was, so in total, there must have been about 90 to 100 ministers. And in total, if there were 10 ministers across every single page that were actually engaging me, there was a lot.
Oh my goodness.
Everybody else just had their names and their pictures. There was just no engagement. And I drew attention to it and I showed them, like, so this now makes sense to me when I'm doing your churches, because I would do the churches and it would be the same thing. And then I would draw attention to them, this represents what you're doing here is actually showing how we actually are at church, that you're here, but you're disengaged.
Yeah.
I said, for others, and I said, it's a full page and it'll be a crack up. I said, for others, I know that this is the first time you're here and this is the first time you've seen inside. And I'd call out their name, Sister Brown. I said, I know for many of you, this is the first time you've actually seen what the inside of Sister Brown's house looks like. You've been going to church with Sister Brown for 20 years. You've never seen inside her house, but now you're looking and people will be cracking up.
Yes, sir.
Because it was true. I said, I know this is the first time you've seen inside of so-and-so's house. You're thinking to yourself, oh, I didn't know she has so many plants. I love plants. And because you're looking in your house and you're like, oh my gosh, she's got as much plants as me. But you've never been inside her house. But Zoom has now allowed you to look inside her house. And I think that's what Zoom did. Zoom gave us a window into each other's lives.